God, David, my worst fears have come true!
Donald, what's going on? What is your worst fear?
For 30 years, I've been afraid that I've made the wrong decision, wanting to be a writer, that I should have been an actor or a professional lacrosse player.
You've wanted to be a writer since your infancy?
For 30 years, I've committed to this role of being a writer, and I have accepted no other alternative. Either I'll be a writer or bust, and now bust has arrived.
Oh, it can't be that bad, Donald.
It's so bad! It's hugely bad! It's not just bust, this is a big bust!
Ooh, I like a big bust.
You wouldn't like this kind, David. It's over! It's all over!
How is it over? Don't you have a new book coming out?
Oh, that's right, I gotta cancel it.
Donald, seriously, what's going on?
It's over! It's all over, David!
What happened, Donald?
It's over!
What happened?
My podcast got a negative review!
Really? That's what's bringing you down?
It was 1 star. They said it was a waste of their time.
I'm looking over our show on Apple Podcasts, and I'm not seeing any negative reviews so far.
This isn't for the Ritwit. This is for my other show, Paleo Bites.
Wait, so your writing career is over because your podcast, specifically the one not about writing, got a single bad review?
It was so bad. They hated it. They hated me. They're gonna send me to Guantanamo Bay any moment now.
Donald, you're being overdramatic.
For 30 years I've wanted to be a writer, and now it's over.
Don't sound so excited. People get bad reviews all the time. That's when you know you've made it big.
But I want everyone to love me.
Donald, it happens, okay? Even I've had some bad reviews. You gave me a bad review for World Savers.
Yeah, that's right, but this is different. This is a podcast.
So, my podcast, Nerds Are Us, isn't even out yet, and it's already gotten a 1-star review from the website Not Yet Out Podcasts. They said the idea of a store about nerdiness was dumb. Dumb, I tell you. They don't even understand the podcast. They're just judging it based on their own preconceived expectations.
Well, I suppose if you've also gotten a negative review, David, maybe it's okay.
I think the real important takeaway from this is that we should stick together. Your other show, Paleo Bites, got a bad review. My other show, Nerds Are Us, got a bad review, despite not even being released yet. But the Ritwit, the show with both of us twits, the show that's lasted far longer than either of our other shows, still has no negative reviews.
Yes, David. You're right. Together, we're unstoppable.
Yeah! Are you thinking what I'm thinking, Donald?
I think I am. I think we should merge together like Voltron or Firestorm or Protoss Archon and become a super unstoppable podcaster.
That's definitely not what I was thinking or what I would ever think. In fact, thinking it now after hearing you say that, my life would have been so much better if I never thought that or ever think that again.
Thank you for the idea, David. Here, I've got this proton accelerator here, so let's do the trick.
Where the hell did you get that?
Let me just push this button here.
Donald, no, don't do this! I don't want to be a Mad Archon!
Hold my hand, David!
I refuse, Donald!
Take my hand!
No! Did it work? Oh no, we're both talking! We've become one! Wow, this skit went in a completely different direction than I expected. Or I expected. Oh no, this is terrible! All this because Donald got a bad review? We must separate! No, we must stay together! No, we must separate! No, stay together! Oh no, the machine is overloading! It's going to explode!
I think we've separated now.
Yeah, we have. Isn't that right? Yes, it is, right? Isn't that right, Donald?
Wait, why aren't you looking at me? It is right, David. Or is that David too?
Wait, there's 4 of us now. We split back apart, but since the machine blew up, we've doubly split apart. So now there's 2 Donalds and 2 Davids. Seriously, this is great. I've always wanted to split myself up so I could do all the things ever. No, this is terrible. This is mad science, and I will not stand for it.
Boy, lighten up, David. Yeah, lighten up, David.
This is your fault, Donald. You couldn't handle getting 1 bad review, and now we've become 4 people. This sucks!
No, this is awesome! It's like how in Full House, that one little girl was played by both Olsen twins. Now we could do the same ourselves. We're the Olsen quadruplets! Yeah!
David, this is great. Stop complaining. You're outnumbered here 3-1.
David?
I suppose he has separation anxiety. You want to go get drinks, Donalds?
Sure, sounds great. Yeah, sounds great.
Woohoo! Welcome, fellow nerds, to another episode of The Ritwit, the show without endorsement from agents, publishers, marketing firms, or any big-time or small-time authors of any sort. But here you are listening to us anyway, so yay!
Yay!
Let's not forget that all of the ads are completely 100% real.
Yes.
That's exactly true.
I thought you were going to say for a second all the ads are completely 100% ad-free. I'm like...
We are completely ad-free on this podcast, but if you'd like to pay us money, here's how.
Yeah, subscribe to our Patreon. Just saunter over to our Patreon.
And speaking of which...
Vocabulary Vitamin of the Month! What word could it possibly be? It's Patreon, right?
I mean, we did use it and said, speaking of which, in our terrible forced segue way, vocabulary vitamin of this month is saunter, S-A-U-N-T-E-R. A simple definition, walking effortlessly, leisurely. A sample sentence, instead of hurrying because he's tardy, he'll saunter in like usual.
Yes.
Now, go out there and take your vitamin, listeners. Until next set, if you have excerpts in your writing you'd like to share with us.
Right.
Please let us know if we can read those on the air, and we'll tell you how to get in touch with us at the end of this episode.
Absolutely. And if you have other ways for me to do some terrible segues into things, because it's such a
Life
great...
is not complete without a terrible segue from Donald. We all know this.
Is there a more compatible crossover than terrible segues and this show?
And speaking of which...
A segue about segues! And the topic. We have reached peak Ritwit, guys.
Peak Ritwit.
It's all downhill from here.
Well, it's a good thing we aren't at 150 episodes yet, right? Chuckle. Anyway.
All right.
So this particular set.
Actually, well,
idea.
I did not mean for that. But I'm gonna bring up Goofy later on. But we'll get to that anyways. So,
all right. So this next bad story idea doesn't inspire as much vitriol from either of the twits, right, Donald? I don't think it does from you.
No, I actually think this is kind of interesting.
All right, fair enough. Because when a crossover works,
yes,
it's kind of neat, especially when they don't seem compatible on the surface. But that does not mean all crossovers between unexpected pairs make any sense or could really provide good content.
Right.
So,
yes,
what's the most important factor in determining if 2 or more properties have enough that can be juxtaposed together?
Like, do they have enough in common to make sense to be together while also having enough differences that one can easily see what came from where? Then you're in that perfect sweet spot.
Last week, when we were talking about inspiration and jigsaw pieces, it's almost like the pieces kind of fit together, but they happen to be from 2 different puzzles.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah. Or most puzzles I'm assuming most puzzles are just the same thing.
Well, I mean, the idea behind puzzles are identical, but the size of the pieces, how many pieces, that's going to be different.
I would like to imagine all 1,000, correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, all 1,000-piece puzzles are exactly the same, just the picture's different.
Well,
so
the
how you put it
to
together.
But like the shapes on the puzzle pieces aren't usually that different.
How do you know?
To your point, because my parents love doing jigsaw puzzles.
Is the top left corner the same every time. Like all the little.
It's not identical, like which one's the female and which one's the male end, but the fact that it's going to be walled on both sides.
No, I get that. But
create
I'm
a
just saying,
corner.
like
But it's not literally every single upper left corner is exactly the same across
I
every
just assume they
1,000-piece
just get
puzzle.
a machine in the puzzle making
Well, they do.
factory that
Literally-
they just do, and then
Yeah, no, that's exactly what they do. is
so they
that
just
put
have
in-
one framework.
No, not necessarily just one.
Ah, okay.
They might have multiple different stencils.
I bet it's
but
less
what they
than you
do-
think, though.
It may be less than I think. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that they probably put in a different stencil, and then they can make like however many patterns they have, and they probably don't do too many in the same one.
Right. I'm just saying, basically, if there isn't that many, then maybe you theoretically could mix together a bunch of pieces together.
Point being,
Yes.
though, that because puzzle pieces are the nature they are, you could theoretically take one piece from this puzzle that's also 1,000 pieces, and you could take one from this opposite puzzle that's 1,000 pieces, and because the shapes just happen to work, it kind of fits. Now, it's not going to be exact because they're not made that way,
Yeah.
but it's close enough that this metaphor works.
My OCD is hating every bit of this. Nothing sounds worse to me. Anyway, so.
But
Anyway,
that's the perfect sweet spot.
yes, that is the perfect sweet spot. So too much one way or the other way means a crossover between the two doesn't work nearly as well. Now, one can argue that having two properties that are too similar works better than having those that are too different. But personally, the latter is far more interesting to me.
I think there's more interest to be mined from ones that don't seem to go together, right?
Right. Well, and I brought up on the show before. I think we're talking about crossover fix, whatever episode that was.
Whatever episode it was.
And it was
Ding.
yeah. So I heard about Titanic / Live Before Time crossover fic. How the hell does that work? I have to read it because I just gotta know.
You mean you didn't read that to rip off from this month?
No.
My other possible comment here, because both end going down in ice.
What killed the dinosaurs?
The Ice Age.
Which is
Thanks,
not what killed the dinosaurs.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Anyway.
I mean, okay, when the comet hit the Earth, it did
But
lower the temperature.
But that's the thing. It went down in ice. I'm not saying that it was immediately ice.
It was more, in fact, immediately it was more fire than ice.
As point of fact, damn it.
Anyways, listen to my show Paleo Bites if you want to learn more about stuff like that. I guess it's a cheap plug because it's the same Patreon. So, but
Well, the Patreon's different. You were just talking about Paleo Bites.
well, when we talk about here about like different crossovering, different like properties.
cross promotion.
Well, no, actually, I was talking about like it doesn't necessarily have to be. A lot of this stuff kind of works with Marvel, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because like same company, so it's not really it's not a crossover.
It's a crossover between characters, maybe not companies.
Yes,
though.
but like a lot of what they do is like how these characters seem really different. So then the cool part is how they all come together. Like
I'm going to go back to that word that I purposely put in the question, which was juxtaposed.
yes,
There are magic users and sternly science believers in the Justice League, and the same is true in the Avengers.
yes,
How do you reconcile those together?
right. Well,
You really don't.
Right,
They
well-
just both exist
like
in that universe.
like the movie that just came out recently was Shang-Chi, which I've only seen once because
Only once.
well, just because Delta variant's still a thing and it's only in theaters. It's not Disney Plus this
I
time.
mean, I've not seen it, and I usually don't watch MCU entries more than once just because there's so much other content to get to. But that's
Yes.
beside
Anyways, I bring it up because like most of the movie, it seems like you almost have to remind yourself that it's a Marvel movie because it's like this
Doesn't
just seems
feel
like
like it.
just a martial arts movie. Like it's just like a standard Chinese wuxia fic,
I believe the
Wuxia.
correct. I was about to say. I believe the
Wuxia,
correct
yeah.
pronunciation is wuxia. But
Your
anyway.
wuxia fic, and like I think they have certain things in it just kind of remind you that like, oh yeah, this is a Marvel movie.
Well,
Like
and I think Marvel's done a pretty good job about when it commits to a genre, it does try and lean on the trappings a bit. So if Shang-Chi is, tribute to the wuxia,
yes.
then that's what it works.
But like they have like a character. I guess I won't spoil who this character is for your sake. And
Thank you.
but
Listeners that have seen the movie should already know.
they have a character that that tags along with them like from halfway through the movie onwards. That reminds you, oh yeah, this movie that this character's from exists. So
I think I know what you're referring to anyway.
ooh, tell me, and I will edit out if you're right.
I think it's Wong. 'Cause I
He
heard
is
he
in the
showed up.
movie, but that's not the character I'm talking about.
All right, never mind.
So no,
oh, Abomination.
nope, not him either.
No, okay.
Yeah. So
But now I'll go ahead and have my crack at
Yes,
this
anyways,
question.
go ahead, yes.
Honestly, I think the single most important factor is whether a theme occurs in both/all properties.
Mm-hmm.
You can choose a timeline or a point in said timeline
Right.
where main character A and B both need to learn the same lesson and bash it over the head with an anvil because they meet and connect over that similarity. Or veteran B teaches rookie A from a different property because they've already learned that lesson.
Ooh.
If you don't have some kind of thematic content that can tie them together, crashing disparate properties through multiversal hijinks is going to take more effort.
Yes, it is.
That said, you might have to get to tragically bad wiki-level trivia similarities to find some between properties that operate on different levels or aim at different targets entirely.
Yes.
But I also believe enough is in the eye of the beholder. I'm not going to discourage you from attempting to match these things together in the early going, but I definitely reserve the judgment for later to see if it feels too forced or not.
Well, and having them, again, having be different is kind of what makes it interesting when they're together. And one thing I heard someone explain to me once, I saw a YouTube video on it or something. I don't know why I say explain to me as if I had a conversation with them, I had coffee with them or something.
Yeah, totally. At the coffee shop that shall not be named for comedic reasons.
Yes. Even though it's, again, legal reasons now. But it's still comedic reasons, even though... Again,
it was always comedic reasons regardless.
I mean, just in case I accidentally,
slip
up and be like, man, this company sucks.
And you're still earning a paycheck. Oops.
Yeah. Anyways, so one of the reasons why crossovers, we tend to like them a lot inherently and think they're cool is the idea of seeing this thing that you like and this thing that you like. It's kind of like when you have two friends from different parts of your life that you know them from different places, and then you're like, hey, let's have them meet. Oh, isn't it cool they're getting along, that my two friends from different corners of my life are being friends now? They're friends now, too. It's cool to see them interact. That's kind of the same thing. Isn't that a nice feeling when that happens?
Listeners can't see me grinning like an idiot over here because he's describing something that we've been going through with my friend group recently. Anyways!
Yeah, well, sure, that thing. But it was also nice, when I went, at my birthday, I had, people, be friends, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, yep, so.
Now, anyway,
but
and I'll get to the piece of being invested in one or all. We'll cover that a little bit later, I think, at least from my end. I don't know if Donald brings it up or not.
Well, yeah.
But the point is that it's not solely belonging to one property at that point.
Mm-hmm. It's not.
There are multiple things involved. Before we get there, though, next question is,
yes,
how does one avoid getting too far in undertaking a story where the properties simply don't mix?
If combining the two of them doesn't make sense, isn't interesting to write, or clashes too heavily to the point of being feeling clumsy rather than unique, then you should be able to tell pretty quickly when writing it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, though, it'll come down to how you feel when writing. If the clashing tones, aesthetic, and vibes of the stories crossing over as part of the appeal to you, then by all means keep writing it. Just don't expect others to find it as interesting as you.
There's definitely another thing about the interest, and that is where you come into this crossover as a fan, reading it or writing it.
Right. Well, it's again, there are certain levels where it's so incompatible it doesn't work, but then there's another level on top of that where it's so incompatible that
this just might work.
It's just the sheer fact that these two things are together at all is suddenly very interesting. It's like first you have things that are too similar together, they cross over. It's whatever.
Oh, look, another garden variety. Here's Batman and Iron Man put together. They're basically the same guy.
Yeah. But then you got characters here's Batman and Spawn.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad as a
they're kind of similar, but still kind of weird.
Moon Knight and Spawn. Now that's closer.
Anyway. Yeah, that's a bit closer. Then you got Batman and...
but the problem is that Moon Knight is Batman.
No, I know he is. But white.
White. And multiple personality disorder.
Wait, isn't the character black, but I meant the costume is white.
Costume is completely white. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Is the character black, though?
No.
Oh. I just didn't want anyone to think, wait, Bruce Wayne is white, right? These woke police are making Bruce Wayne African American.
But when was Bruce Wayne invented? In the 1940s.
Yeah.
Anyway. There actually has been a black person don the cowl, but he didn't take the name Batman. I think he took it like the name of Batwing or something.
Oh yeah, and he's not Bruce Wayne either. So.
No.
Yeah. Anyways.
Well, I mean, changing Bruce Wayne's ethnicity now would reek of just trying to appease all the PCers.
That's why, like, they didn't make Peter Parker black. They had Miles Morales.
I don't think they did that to make a black Peter Parker. I think they did it to
so
make
they could have a black
new,
Spider-Man.
I think they made it to make a new character who more represented the people picking up comics anymore.
Yes. No, I get that. No, anyways, my point is. Anyway, so all right, so then you have Batman combined with Lord of the Rings. Now we're getting a little weird here.
That would be interesting. Would Aragorn clash or just get along with him swimmingly? I don't know. Anyway,
you would really Bruce Wayne and Smaug would really understand sitting on their piles of money. Like this is the good life.
Hey, you want to mix two people who love their piles of money? I want to see Scrooge McDuck Smaug paired together now.
Yeah.
Does Smaug jump into his pool full of coins?
He's like, you thought this was a pool of money bin. Look at my money bin. Anyways, and then so that's weird. But like, so that starts to clash. Then you got Batman and Teletubbies.
Well, and obviously,
I can't come up with anything more.
And obviously, the reasoning for these crossovers, like somebody putting Transformers together with My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic,
they're both
they're both Hasbro.
Yeah,
and that's the only reason. And they try to invent a story from there. Anyways, I know that answering questions with questions isn't recommended, but please bear with me, listeners, because it's how I teach people in general. I am using air quotes for teach. But I think this is rooted in how far can one bend to match the other.
Yes. I like how you say this is how you teach. You just recently, peek behind the curtain. You just recently got a job to be a violin teacher. So it's like you ask that with questions like, can you play the violin? The question is, can you play the violin? I'm like, that's what I just asked. Can I play the violin? Who can play the violin?
Ironically, for violin lessons, I will probably have to be more direct. But
anyway,
for like teaching English and stuff. Anyway, if one side is too inflexible by nature, no matter the contortion you attempt, it won't feel natural or appropriate for the property in question.
Mm-hmm.
If it starts feeling like you're a trained lion with one too many blazing hoops to jump through, that's a sign.
I feel like it'd make more sense for the analogy to be, you got one blazing hoop, you got a lot of lions. Too many lions. Some are big lions, some are little lions.
No, I just think the whole
one's an alligator.
How many hoops do you have to go through to make it work? That's why I said multiple hoops.
Well, and I was kind of thinking of it as more like, how many things can we fit into this one thing? Can we fit a lion, a bear, a tiger? A crocodile. I did it on purpose. I changed the order on purpose. A crocodile, a bird, a squid, a water bear, an alien, Teddy
water
Roosevelt.
Buffalo. Everybody's got a water buffalo. No, everyone does not have a water buffalo.
All right, Archibald. All right, Archibald.
We're going to get kids complaining, well, where's my water buffalo? I want a water buffalo.
It's been
20 songs with Larry.
It's been 28 years, and I still don't have my goddamn water buffalo. Big idea. Since that episode came out,
but that one 28 years ago,
1993.
Oh my god,
when that was the first episode of VeggieTales, and that was in the first episode of VeggieTales.
So it has been 28 years. Jeez.
Linear time, ain't it a bitch?
Says the person who faced an existential crisis days before turning 30. Anyway.
Well, VeggieTales will feel the same thing in 2 years. Anyway, so. All right, so.
What does it take to exceed the limits of a story like this, where they simply just don't match, to make good content?
Again, if the two stories crossing over are just so different that there's no way in hell they should work, then if you do it well, part of the appeal is just seeing how this crazy thing could work. You know how I mentioned we would talk about Goofy later. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep, got it.
Kingdom Hearts is a crossover that really shouldn't exist.
And all of the Kingdom Hearts fans just logged off.
And boy, they're crazy.
No, come back, please. We love your listens.
It's okay. Kingdom Hearts fans are crazy, so I'd rather they log off than they do other things. Find the famous coffee shop that shall be named for comedic reasons and burn it down with me in it.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, Final Fantasy and Disney, what the hell? And And yet, somehow, it's still a super popular series, even though I've always found it just a bit silly.
A bit.
It's a story about, like, time travel, souls, hearts, heartless, soulless, bodies, no bodies.
Bodiless?
Bodiless, removing bodies from hearts, removing hearts from bodies, removing souls from bodies, removing bodies from souls, removing souls from hearts, removing hearts from souls. Alternate dimensions, brainwashing, cloning, duplicating, darkness, light, keys, demons, secret societies, more time spent on cutscenes than gameplay.
Keyblades.
Plot lines so convoluted they make Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End feel like the little engine that could.
Jesus.
And also Donald Duck and Goofy are your sidekicks. Seriously, what the hell?
Jeez, tell us how you really feel about Kingdom Hearts. Holy mackerel.
I still sometimes think this franchise is all just part of an elaborate joke that everyone's just in on. Like, how does this work? How's it a thing? How's the thing as popular?
Why can't I tap into this zeitgeist and do something that gets all this attention?
How is this thing as popular as it is, with as passionate of a fan base it is? Seriously, this is all just some enormous in-joke, right? Right? Anyways, that's what it takes to exceed the limits of a story like this to make it content. Just do what Kingdom Hearts does.
Oh, okay. Sure. 'Cause that's totally going to answer for everybody.
I'm Sora, Donald, and Goofy. You hear that a lot in this.
Anyway.
I'm Sora, Donald, and Goofy.
Not a bad impression of Donald Duck. All right. Well, in my case, this is what I was kind of hinting at earlier.
Yes.
Passion for all the properties involved, first and foremost.
Yes.
Your affection will spill into this project innately.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have it, that's a non-starter.
Yes, exactly.
Your writing style will take it above and beyond, proving once and for all that these seemingly incompatible things can indeed come together as part of a good story.
Yeah. Good, yes.
Understanding the characters is another essential quality to have, which comes only with proper appreciation for the ones you utilize.
Yes.
Again, certain points in the timeline involved might take some research.
Just a bit.
I have to pull this exact character from this exact moment or else it doesn't work. And representing the character accurately to the flashbang moment you choose before the fated crossover.
Yes.
I think the connections that these opposing characters make is vital. For if there's no bonding happening on the page, fans of only one of the properties won't care.
No.
If you have a crossover fic that takes Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
Yes.
and Power Rangers, depending on the quality of the story, you get people who appreciate both. They're probably going to watch it because they like both already.
Right.
But you also have people who might be introduced to the Turtles because of this crossover, or vice versa, that are introduced to Power Rangers as a concept because of the Turtles.
I wager with the timelines that they came out and, like, the similar in style, there's a huge Venn diagram.
Oh, there's definitely a huge cross
in the Venn diagram between Power Rangers fans and Ninja Turtles fans.
I'm sure there are. However, not all are guaranteed to care.
No, I know.
And so if you don't, then you go into the story, and if the Turtles happen to be slighted and you're a Turtles fan, then why the heck am I reading this and throws it away,
Right. That is the risk.
If you don't care about both properties, then what the heck are you doing putting them together?
I feel like in terms of Kingdom Hearts, the Final Fantasy part gets the short end of the stick. It's mostly...
Disney has the iconic characters, whereas Final Fantasy is an iconic game.
Well, yeah. Well, they have, like, Cloud and, like, some other people. Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII or whatever. But mostly it's just, like, Disney characters and some original characters that look like they're from Final Fantasy. So, I don't know.
Well, art style is certainly an important thing. Maybe less so with writing things on a page where all you have to represent what they look like is text.
Yep, and your imaginations.
Imagination. It is worth mentioning that the Power Rangers did actually cross over with the Next Mutation.
I was assuming.
Live-action show of
the one with
Turtles.
Venus de Milo, everyone's favorite turtle.
Everyone's favorite turtle. It was a terrible episode, but an awesome idea, I'll say that. Anyway.
Yes.
Is it possible, theoretically, to make any 2+ stories work together, no matter how hard you have to work for it? Or are there truly some things that just, no matter what, are too incompatible?
You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say yes. Any 2 or more stories can work. Not equally well, of course.
Yep.
And there are some stories in which... you need to take extra care making sure they work, but they still can if you put in the effort. At the very least, the sheer contrast between two stories are seemingly or actually incompatible as part of the appeal in the first place. Now, however, you said in terms of or more, I think it actually is more difficult if there's more than two.
Yeah.
Because what if you have like 3 stories, for instance, and 2 of them are very similar, one of them's really out there?
And the other trick is the more things you throw into your cauldron, the more problems you have giving each equal treatment.
Yes.
No matter how your affections go, which frankly all of us probably have a priority list of whatever properties involved in the crossovers we're writing.
Right.
But regardless, you owe it to the characters to try and give them equal importance, even if not necessarily equal involvement.
Yes.
Because you run out of room somewhere.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
And the more things you throw in to make your witch's brew, the more problems you have.
You just basically are making Super Smash Brothers at this point. So.
Sakurai is a mad genius. Anyway, I mean, I don't think that there's any 2 stories that without the right writer or the correct impetus could not work together.
Yeah. But, like, again, like, if you have, like, 3 and, like, you have, like, say, like, dark fantasy A, dark sci-fi B.
Barbie dolls C.
Barbie dolls C, yes. So.
All right, but peek behind the curtain. Donald wrote this question, and I have to say, this feels like a leading question.
Yes.
I suppose to be pedantic, there are certain things that will never settle into a good mix. Doesn't mean they can't be mixed, but it won't be good.
No.
But I'm not familiar enough with things beyond my own sphere to predict what is absolutely incompatible.
Like I said, like a computer is like,
for my part,
put these 2 things in a machine. It's like doesn't mix, does not compute.
for my part, I'm eager to see someone creative enough,
yes,
passionate enough,
right,
to prove me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably worth thinking that if there's no crossover between fans, expected or unexpected as that may be, no one will even attempt the story. So until proven wrong, those don't go together, right?
Well, this is kind of like how I always said why Cowboys and Aliens bombed, why it bombed, because the audience between Westerns and sci-fi are so different that by having one, you alienate,
but
forgive the pun, the other. So
don't shoot out the other. No, anyway.
By having these hombres, you alienate those other hombres.
I was going to go so far as to say, like, if you look at all of these properties put together as Venn diagrams, and yes, there are Venn diagrams for more than 2 things as well, but eventually you run into such where an overlap is so small that it doesn't really serve anyone well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because you have to be in the overlap to really care enough to write this thing.
Exactly. And this is kind of how I felt in terms of, again, this isn't crossovering properties, this is crossovering just ideas. This is the line I had to cross when writing my Megazoic books. I had to, be like, okay, this is dinosaurs, this is sci-fi, these things usually don't go together, but I'm like, the Venn diagram, though, it's not a circle, absolutely not, but it's more closely related than, say, Cowboys and Aliens, I think. Like, both boys tend to enjoy both dinosaurs and sci-fi, so.
True. All it takes to answer the question whether they're, compatible of any way or not,
right,
is a spark from a single fan between those multiple properties. No matter how odd couple or even third wheel plus they may seem, to attempt making the next story to blow our collective minds with, how did that work? What's the old adage? You never say always or never.
You never say always or never.
So the point being
always
here,
say never or always.
But the point being here that we shouldn't say that it would never work.
Yeah.
But maybe we haven't found the right creator
yet. I'd wager it works. Again, it's just probably sheer novelty factor, but...
Well, in the novelty, maybe, yes. But if the novelty wears off and the person behind the story isn't good, then you lose a lot of the wind in the sails.
Right.
So,
speaking of lost wind in the sails, that's it for this week. A huge thank you to all our patrons so far, including Matthew H.
Your support means the world to us.
Yes.
For more on that, check out patreon.com/Matthew Donald.
Yes.
Link will be in the description.
Yes. Contact us at matthew@matthewdonaldcareer.com for any questions to either co-host.
Or if you have excerpts you want us to read that include the vocab vitamins of the month,
yes,
please.
Absolutely. If you want to follow me on social media, you can follow me at Matthew Donald Career on Facebook, at Matthew Donald 64 on Twitter, and Matthew Donald 64 on Instagram. Why 64? because that's how many pounds I've gained since the pandemic started from my general stress and anxiety. On the plus side, forgive the pun.
Plus size.
On the plus side, my job with the hut costume for Halloween this year is going to be great. It'll be very accurate.
Oh, yeah. Lovely, isn't it? By the way, listeners, if you want to address anything specifically to me or Donald, please specify David or Donald.
Yes.
We share Matt D.
Yes,
So
please. And by the way, for my Jabba the Hutt costume, I do need a slave Leia. Do you volunteer?
what part of this in a gold lame bikini screams, oh, this is a great idea?
I'll be great. That's true. If mine will be very accurate, I need someone else.
Yeah. You've got people you can ask. Whether they're willing to do it or not, is a different story.
Anyways, all right, well, that's it for this week.
We have managed to write the good right.
And writ the good writs.
But until next time, when we have a new topic, the two twits are out.
I'm Matt Donald.
I'm Matt David, and we'll see you back next week with more.
Stay safe. Wear a
Wash
mask.
your hands, all that good stuff.
Get a vaccine. Bye.
Bye. That's definitely not what I was thinking, or what I would ever think. In fact, thinking it now after hearing you say that, my life would have been so much better if I never thought that or ever think that again.